So let's bring Maria and Jason in, and that was perfect timing as well, Brent. Thank you for being right on the nail. Let's have a conversation around some of that. And as you said there, you know, talking about silos and trying to break down these silos, your planning of what has to happen from a modeling perspective crosses a lot of different silos. Maybe you could start there. You know, when we look at all of these and these different teams that are involved in a project, there's obviously many, but when you think about the silos that crosses and the different maybe internal teams that you have to get buy-in from, what have you seen as being ways of making sure that teams are actually on board? And because it's not just one person changing, it's an impact on many.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's been my number one challenge, both internally and so within our own firm, and then externally with the industry. The good news, Clive, is that every time I have made this presentation, well, every time I've made a more in-depth presentation and have a chance to get through the 5 characteristics, I've only had one. I'm being very honest here. I've only had one design team that said, "No, we can't do that. That's too much additional work." Everyone else who has had a chance to hear the 5 characteristics, let me explain the whole process, has said, "Oh yeah, that's not that big of a deal. We can do that," which is really encouraging, right? And to me, it just says I just need FaceTime with people to be able to share the message. Yeah.
Yep. Love it. So we talked about these silos, and Jason, I think you're with us as well. Don't see you on camera at the moment, but the steak dinner analogy, I like that. So we talked about having to ask the right questions, otherwise you end up with the wrong order. Have you had projects where I think the answer is yes, where you haven't seen the right questions being asked, and you know, what did it cost? What was the outcome? And maybe from understanding how to ask those right questions, what would you do differently now that you've lived through a few of those? Maybe if Jason, you're there.
I am here.
Perfect. What would you, so knowing what questions to ask, and maybe some of the train wrecks that we've all been involved with in the past, what would you say would be the main things that you would do differently to make sure that you do get the right order and the patron gets the right steak?
Well, the first thing is to make sure that everybody hears the question, regardless of who's sitting at the table, who the stakeholders are. Just when you ask a question, everyone has to hear it. Everyone from, like, if you're on the design team, if you're the architect and you're asking a question, hey, here's an example. I've worked on a project in the past for a football stadium. This is Canadian football, not European football. So not as big as one of those. And we came to the owner, the team that was going to be owning and running this stadium, and said, okay, on your main concourse, are you ever going to have any large loads? We know you have concessions, there's beer, there's going to be people up there. Are you ever going to have any large loads? No. Okay, great. Are you sure there's not going to be anything other than like a hand cart or a pulley? Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Okay. We're actually, fast forward 6-8 months, we're in construction, we're putting the hollow core slabs in for the main concourse. The concession owners now are involved and they're doing their kitchens and everything. And they say, hey, but we need to get beer from A to B, and we're going to use a small forklift. Now it comes back, and now it's like, well, now your slab's under-designed. Now, how are you going to fix it? It's like, well, we're not, because we didn't design it for that. And, you know, long story short, you will, and you do. And then the question at the end of the project is, well, whose fault is this? Well, we asked the question to the owner, and they said no. The owner should have gone on to their concession people and said, hey, did I answer this question correctly? They would say, no, here's the correct answer, and bring it back. Like, we get that you're not going to have everybody who's involved all in one room all the time, but you need to have that flow of communication. You know, we all look at BIM as this magical tool where we have all this magical software and everything's interconnected. You know, I change whatever in model A and it shows up in model Q, and then everyone in between is going to see that happening. You know, and it doesn't go that way. If you're going to make a change or you're unsure of something, you need to actually, you know, send an email, ping someone on Teams, pick up the phone. It seems really old-fashioned and fuddy-duddy, but that's the best way to get it done. You know, when in doubt, phone somebody, ask the question, and make sure it gets answered. And just not answered, but answered by the right person.
And that's it. So I totally agree. Pick up the phone. It's one of those challenges, though, when you're working in such a contractual environment that people are like, oh, no, I have to put it in some system to be able to track what I've asked, who responded, who didn't respond. And sometimes people sort of put it into a system to do the CYA, and it doesn't then get really truly asked to the right person. Yeah, so there's like systems that sort of are trying to be good to be a record of who's been doing what, but actually they're not. The outcome is actually bad, that they don't get answered. Brent, you talked about a lot of tools, about all the estimating tools that actually didn't really solve that core problem. Maybe you could talk maybe from that perspective and communication, some of the tools that you have seen that are used in the wrong way or the right way. Any examples there that you've seen either in estimating or in tracking people's requirements?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, probably every single project goes by with a few of these unforced errors, right, around communication. And it's because, to Jason's point, someone didn't just pick up the phone at the end of the day. The tools are, as everyone on this call knows, has heard, you know, the tools are supporting us, facilitating us, but they are not the thing. And so ultimately the tool, and that's why that slide's so important to me, because it shows that there really is some great software out there. I mean, we've made some killer tools over the last 10 or 15 years across the industry. And but none of them solve the communication problem in and of itself, because ultimately that's me going to Jason or going to Maria and asking the question. And my current soapbox is that we've got people in the same office, co-located, who are not communicating. And I'm a state away and communicating with other people. It's like, wait a minute, I'm communicating better with people in your office than you are and people in your own office, you know? So, because I don't know, it's, you know, everyone gets busy. I know we're all under the pressure of time, and that's only probably going to get worse, unfortunately. So we have to pull back out and be intentional about just communicating.
Yep. I completely agree. And Maria, when that links nicely with what I wanted to ask pointed questions to you, it's not just about communication on tools and how to use those tools, it's the soft skills in communication as well. What have you seen that's actually been successful in training for the soft skills? Have you seen things working, helping teams to communicate, and actually whether it's using the CYA tool in the right way and also picking up the phone because they think that that's going to get a better response? How can you help people to get that achieve that goal?
Well, I think it's not about only the telephone and not only about the distance of the office. We have a team that works worldwide, and we communicate in a better way, each project advanced. But I think it's the soft skills are also about not only achieving knowledge, but also experience and better training and better improvement and lessons learned in each project. This is what we share in our digital platform training about our experience, and not about only like technical skills, also in collaboration, in communication, and in leadership. It's about experience, what we have achieved, what we have done, and that's sharing. I think this industry needs sharing experiences and knowing about better results more than technical or theoretical knowledge.
And I suppose that's why I love these types of events where people are bringing their stories and sharing their case studies and showing what's been done. I've sat through so many conferences where actually the presentations are not really that useful. These have been amazing. It's been real tangible stuff. So it's great to see that. I suppose this shows how the teams on these calls are all about sharing and all about like realizing that then there's a need for sharing and training and helping others. Was there a moment where you realized that, Brent, maybe take that, when you realized, and I think when I'll relate it to the estimating side, it's like, oh man, we've really got to solve this problem. I'm dedicating the rest of my career to this thing. Like, what was that moment?
Oh, how much time do we have? Yes, there was a moment in time, actually. So I was on a project in 2018. We were transitioning from an old platform to a new one. The old platform was built specifically for model-based estimating, so it was a no-brainer. It worked fine out of the box. But it was a closed application. So everything, the model authoring, the estimating, all happened in the same platform. We were sunsetting that platform and we were moving to a new one in our company. And we were working with Georgia Tech State University, a very progressive, construction-oriented, focused client. And they had an RFP out for 5D BIM, and specifically 5D BIM. So they had in their mind something very specific that they wanted. And long story short, Beck and a couple other great contractors that are in the industry were awarded that project. And try as we might, we were unable to really crack that code per exactly what Georgia Tech wanted back then in 2018. And then and there, I was flying back and forth from Dallas to Atlanta, and then and there, I decided this is the problem I'm going to solve. And I'm going to figure out how to do it. And I feel like I have. Now it's just a matter of evangelizing and implementing. So
what was so when you cracked the code of those 5 aspects, when was that exactly, and how did that feel?
It was a process. So as I was flying back and forth between Atlanta and Dallas, I was really thinking about like, why is this so hard for us to do on this project when this is something I've been doing for the last 10 years? And what cracked the code was realizing that I was operating in a closed environment for the last 10 years. And so the all-in-one application, kind of teased out some things like, well, the first characteristic is this idea that everything we model is modeled with the intention that it's going to be used for a specific purpose. And the platform is designed to do that, go figure. Another example is that, the linking of cost items to model objects is a requirement. It's the third characteristic. Not every cost estimating application does that, but that's critical because if Maria, for example, is my design partner and she says, hey, Brent, show me where you got the quantity for X, Y, or Z from, I can pull the model, I can pull my estimating platform out, I can click on the object and show the cost and the quantity that are all tied together. So it's like a digital breadcrumb, right? To connect everything. And so it was just that focused time thinking about why did it work in this closed environment? Why can't it work here? And what kind of standards do we need to transfer from one to the other? And that's how it was born.
Love it. And so Jason, what was your aha moment when you talk about silos? I loved your description of all of the diagrams. I hadn't really realized that myself, that there was just these breaks in every single diagram, even though they look really pretty with the circles and everything look kind of connected. It's just a bunch of things that are completely disconnected on one diagram. How did that work out for you? When was your realization of silos and the need to change and really focusing on that for yourself?
It was a couple of years ago. I was working actually at a smaller engineering firm, and we were working on a hospital, and we started the project as the subconsultant to the architect to do obviously all the structural work and everything. And it was basically our design was almost done. We'd gone through tender. We've gotten our building permit. We were virtually like 2 days away from going to issue our IFC, our issue for construction drawings here in Canada. And that's when they finally pulled on board a contractor. So we had done our design, we'd gone great guns, and we had followed a really good BIM workflow. We had a BXP, we had a BIM kickoff meeting. The architect was on board, the mechanical guy was on board. Believe it or not, the electrical guy was on board. It was great. So we're rolling through it. We had a great model. We were using a web-based platform to share all our models and to do some clash detection and everything. All of a sudden, now the contractor comes on. Has no idea what we've done. And like, well, they know what we're done because we've done, we're doing a design, but no idea what we are, the background of the project. And all of a sudden, it's just, they want this. They want, our insertion point changed. They want our base points changed. They don't like the format that they don't want it to be in Revit. They want it to be IFC. It's just, they wanted everything to be different than what they wanted. They wanted our LOD on the structural model to be higher than it was. And it's just kind of like, that's not how this project is going. That's not where it's going. LOD 350 and 400 for the structural side is done by the steel supplier. You'll have to talk to them. Oh, well, our steel supplier doesn't do anything in 3D. And we're just kind of like, well, how is this possible? How are we in like 2-3 days sealing our drawings for construction and you want all these changes? And then, then the contractor gets in the owner's ear and says, hey, we can save you a whole bunch of money if you get these guys to change all this stuff. And then the owner's all up in arms, is like, well, why didn't we do this in the first place? Once again, back to had to ask the right question and, maybe knowing the right questions to ask. So that was kind of my, wow, on the design side of BIM, we're awesome. But then you start putting, you all of a sudden put 3-letter acronyms in front of everyone else. Like you got VDC, you got all that stuff, and you got like facility maintenance, FMO. It's like now that they've got their own acronyms, they want their own BIM, and that creates the silos. You have design BIM, construction BIM, owner facility maintenance BIM, and it's just, never will the 2, 3, 10 ends meet. So
the hope is that they want their own BIM or they want some BIM. I recount Mark Sawyer's statement of why have one model when 5 will do, and it's like the comical genius behind that. But the principle, you've got all these different silos. One thing is recognizing that they're silos. The other thing is recognizing that BIM just doesn't work if just one of those silos doesn't do what they're supposed to do. And I liken that, we have the analogy of a fruit bowl where you've got just one piece of rotten fruit, but it's going to rot the whole rest of the fruit bowl. Like it's just one rotten model, that comes from one of the suppliers that's not good. It's going to cause problems for everyone else. And so that kind of 2-part realization that there's silos, but realization that actually if one of those silos falls down, then the rest of them are not going to have a good time either. Yeah. Maria, you talked about a project that you lost 3 weeks on in your, and it was that part of the realization you've now focused a lot on training and really gone for a lot more support in that realm, or what was the aha moment for you as you came through that and realized that, really running a consultancy and running a support and training and making sure that everyone's up to speed, that was going to be your focus?
Well, that project was about collaboration and communication to face and achieve all the problems that we were facing. So the solved problem of the project was not about the technical support, but also about the communication in the project and the collaboration. And also if the other silos, as you mentioned, were not aligned in the project, I think our role there is to collaborate and to try to understand what they are needing to achieve the objective of the project also. So this is not, comes also about the soft skills, to understand what it is needed, not only in our role, but also in the role of the different teams with different perspectives and different visions about the project. So what it is needed to take the project in advance.
Yep, absolutely. And so, saying again, those soft skills, communication, empathy, leadership, like really things that aren't in everyone's bag, everyone's wheelhouse, they can be really tough to impart. And people are, they're in their own silos within their own companies, and crossing over in order to have communication, in order to make sure that you're crossing over with those silos, even inside of your own company. What have you seen any challenges, any funny instances, anything that has occurred because of that challenge, where people are actually, even though, and I think, it was just mentioned there that you might sit in the same office or the other side of a cubicle, and you don't even talk to the other person that you really should be. Anything there that came up? Any thoughts that you've seen? Anything that's happened on projects?
We worked recently in a project with a big enterprise. They were all in the same office, and we have the team worldwide. So we were in communication with the different members of the company that were in the same office and weren't communicating between them. So we made several meetings for the project so that they can face-to-face to talk about the project. That was incredible. So more of the times, more than the project technically that we develop in BIM, we make several meetings, protocols, guidelines to help the team in the firm, in the enterprise, to understand what they are needing for the BIM project, not just a BIM project, but what they are needing for, and to talk with all the team about what they are needing. It's incredible, but they sometimes have different objectives about the same project. So in the first time we meet with all the teams in the firm, we define what they really need about the project, and then we start to work.
That comes back to what Jason was saying about making sure that you have everyone answer the questions, everyone hear the questions, the right questions. How to do that. So how are you all doing that? What mediums of communication are you seeing as far as asking those questions? So not just recording them in a system, but picking up the telephone, having online meetings, meeting in person. What are you seeing at the moment, and how has that changed? Let's do this since COVID, but how do you see that developing, and what is the norm now? Brent, anything to share there?
Yeah, so my specific team is involved in projects early on. So we're quite frequently involved in concept phase, schematic design phase, where there's not always all the answers. Not everything has been defined at that stage. And so we have implemented a tool, it's called a project questionnaire sheet, which is pretty simple. And it goes through the uniform building systems, starting with A10 for slab on, or for foundations, A40 for slab on grade, B10 for superstructure, et cetera, et cetera. And we just ask the questions like, hey, what, even though there is no foundation plan, what do we think? What do we know about this project? Its site, its location. For my team members that live and work in Dallas, Texas, we know we're going to be on 9 times out of 10, we're going to be on deep foundations, drilled piers. That's just a given for large commercial projects. Or superstructure. Regionally, we generally know it's going to be concrete or steel. But we want to tease those questions out of the team, because if I make all those assumptions, well, that's 1/5 of the project team, and there's other people on the team that have better insight into those and are in a better position to make the guess at concept or schematic design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Asking the right questions, collaborating, crossing the, is that always, so what are you seeing at the moment? Are you seeing more in-person stuff? Are you seeing more online stuff? Like, is that changing as well?
No, we operate, the whole team is remote. And so we operate every day just using Teams. Teams is a great tool for us to do informal chats back and forth. We are intentional. That's probably a very key word to use, right? We are very intentional about meeting. We meet once a week as a team just to talk about the week ahead. We also meet individually. So I meet with my team members individually for an hour. It's a huge commitment, but it's also pays off. It's very beneficial to spend that time. And then when we're working on a project specifically, we put together most of our projects are very quick burns, so 2 to 3 week kind of sprint exercises. And we have a schedule for the project. We have individual specific touch points throughout the week, and you just have to be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm. And we also commit
to the face-to-face on screen video. So
turn it on. Yeah, right.
Yep.
When you have those meetings, you mentioned there an hour a week. How do you then track those tasks afterwards? How do you make commitments to each other and track them? Is it through email? Is it through a system? Like, what do you use? How do you?
It's really sophisticated, and it's an Excel document.
Okay.
It's a shared Excel
Cool.
document. We have the schedule on it, kind of a simple bar chart. We say, who's the person responsible, and we kind of mark off what's done week to week. So
Cool. How about you, Maria? What are you using to track tasks for internal team members?
We use a lot of Slack, and also more clients doesn't know to use it. So we'll teach them how to use it. It's very easy. So we have for each project a channel, and with the clients, with the team, and that helps a lot because we can link to the meeting in Zoom or Soho. We use Soho meeting also, and that it's really easy to link to tutorials, video tutorials, to help also the clients to understand and to use the same tools. It's really, really easy.
Very cool. Very cool. And Jason, combined question there. So what are you seeing more of, online, in person, and when you're tracking those tasks that you kind of agree on in those meetings, how are you enabling that? What sort of technology or workflow are you using?
Yeah, AE, who I work for here, like the local office itself is only 16 people, but the company itself is 1,200. So we do a lot of stuff across the country. So everything, not like I'm working right now with structural engineer in Saskatoon and Edmonton. So everything's virtual, everything's online with Teams, but we really use Teams a lot, and OneNote and SharePoint, and we build up, little Teams groups and chat groups. And it's great because then you throw your OneNote in there, everyone can keep track of the schedule, keep track of meeting minutes. If you have assigned something to somebody, or even if you say in a Teams meeting, hey, I need you to do this, and they say, oh, I didn't know. It's like, well, you read it and here it is. There is that little backlog and that little bit of accountability that I think people still, we're all adults, but I think everyone needs to be accountable for what they do. And great, technology is great for that, for holding us accountable for what we do and don't do. There's no way around it. You can't say, oh, I didn't hear the phone ring. It's like, I saw the email, I saw the Teams. Hey, there's a little check mark beside the Teams message. I know for a fact you read it. So
you've been online and read it. Yep. Brent was sharing about like the estimating tools and some of those not quite solving the problem completely. And you talking about tools about recording, getting online and recording checklists and going through those sorts of things. We can, you can do a lot with the right tools, but sometimes they still miss the mark, and people feel kind of like, oh, another tool. What do you say to people when they feel kind of burnt out by the tools, and sometimes they're like, oh, not another login or not another tool I have to learn? How do you deal with that? Anyone first? Brent's nodding. How are you? Are most people now, starting to run towards technology, or is it changing for you, or no?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. I mean, again, I go back to everyone has only limited bandwidth, and it's getting pulled in so many different directions. So my big thing is in our firm is there's a lot of things we could be doing and could be using, but what do we need to be doing and need to be using right now? And it's really important to try to stay focused on that, because we went through a time at Beck where we chased the shiny new objects that came down the line, and that was fun, but it was fruitless because you're never going to get full adoption, and you're going to spend a lot of money on software and all that kind of stuff. And today I try to make it very focused. Like, here's our tech stack today. This is what we're using right now. Let's use this really well. Even within an application, I mean, you know this, Clive, even within an individual application, we probably generally use like 10 to 20% of the software features, right? So let's use what we've got. Let's use it really well. If we need to add something to the tech stack, we can evaluate that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If only we used every piece of every application, got the best out of every one of them. But yeah. Maria, what do you see, or how do you just mentioned there using Slack with your customers and being able to bring them in, and it's not really needing any training, but I'm sure they're like, oh, do I need another app on my phone, or like, do I really need to be able to do this? What do you say when somebody's feeling that burnout? from tools?
I think it's our role also, not only just developing a BIM project, but also helping the teams to get into the right tools, what they need. So what they need is so important, and then helping them or guide them to use the right tool in the right way for that project, not for all the life, but for that project instantly. So when guiding them, I think it's more easier. So I was thinking about a project that the firm used Trimble, but they didn't know how to use it. So they wanted us to give the project in Google Drive. So that was great. And we said, no, you have Trimble, you can use Trimble, but we don't know how to use it. So then I think, no, you have a great tool to share the project. So let's work there. And we have also some protocols about different tools, so we can share them to the clients, and they can easily learn how to use them. So I think that when we help the clients to use the correct tools, it's more easier.
Yeah, I loved your example about using the tool that you were using for communication, actually using that for training them as well, sending them snippets in Slack and stuff like that. Jason, any thoughts there on tools and tool burnout? Any ways that you're?
There's always going to be a new tool, and when they come in, people start saying, "Oh, we need this, we need that." Like, you could talk about anything, like a PDF reader or whatever. It's just like, you really need to justify why we should switch, why we should add that to our deck. Because it's just like, well, if it's shiny and new and you just think it has one little item in it that works really well, I don't know if that's going to work, because it takes people so long to get used to and feel comfortable in a new piece of software that they go unused a lot. I've looked back at some projects that I've worked on, and I go back and I look at the list of all the software we use, and I'll go in and there's like one message, there's one little note, there's like 3 files in there. I'm like, well, why did we use this? We all had to figure out how to use this piece of software, how to log into it. It's another Post-it note with another password on it. Not that I condone passwords on a Post-it note, but it's just, you really need to stop and think. It's like, I don't know, when you're building your deck at home, you got to stop and think about what tool you're going to use, because you don't want to empty the whole shed just to hammer in a couple boards.
Yep. Yeah. Great point. Great analogy. I hadn't connected it, but we'll add a plug for the training that we just released today, which is we called it the digital troublemaker. It's enables teams to get to a business case that'll actually, it gives you the executive buy-in, it gives you the training plan to be able to get people to be up to speed, and really it prevents that, or does everything that it can to prevent the fact that people do buy technology sometimes and it sits on the shelf. So yeah, getting executive buy-in and making sure that everyone's following along, definitely incredibly important.
Signing up.
Say again.
I said I'm signing up. I want to take that course.
Absolutely, yeah. I know you're a digital troublemaker anyway, so I don't know whether you need the certificate.
I do.
But yeah. So yeah, I think that we're exhausting our time. But just a closing comment from each of you. This BIM thing is a bit of an emotional roller coaster. Implementing information management, better planning earlier. More detailed, it's not something that people run towards. People don't say, oh, I really want to plan. People actually say, I really want to just build a model or spin a model around. How are you seeing the change accelerating or staying the same? And what are you really doing, or what can you share as some thoughts that might push it in the right direction? Anyone want to jump in first?
I think we just need to have conversations with everyone involved, and with people that we know need to have the conversation and the education, like dealing with contractors, dealing with facility managers and owners. Like, you can't tell them they need something if they don't know what they need. Oh, hey, here's this model. Well, what am I supposed to do with it now that I've got it? I don't know. They need to have a little bit, information is power. Once they have the information and the knowledge, then they'll be asking for it. Until then, they're just going to go, I don't want you to spend any extra time on any of this BIM stuff because I don't know what it is. It's all about communication and education.
Asking the right question. Education. Yeah, education's been a big theme today. You know, we can blame lots of people, you know, saying the owner, oh, they don't know what they're asking for. But really, yeah, it's our opportunity to educate and have a longer term client. I think they're all great opportunities. We see teams that share and introduce, you know, bringing people into the platform, the owner, and actually saying, hey, look at this. This is what we're doing. That is an amazing way to get repeat business and to communicate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brent, closing thoughts?
Yeah. I'll share. I'll riff off that a little bit because I like the theme of education. And I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of fun over the last 2 years partnering with Colorado State University and doing some research. So I would encourage those of us who are in a space where we're trying to break through to partner with academia because they've got the research component down really well. And things that generally get published have the, you know, in terms of Jason talking about trying to convince owners, you know, that carries some weight with it, like it or not. And so to be able to go to an owner and go, look, this has been researched by X university, whatever, and they stand behind this, and it's been peer reviewed, and there's some legitimacy to it. That's one way we can help educate our owner base. And then again, to Jason's point, winning them over, it kind of greases the skids. So,
yep, agreed. Maria?
I think to remember that our role is not just to develop BIM projects, but also helping other teams, our clients to solve this. And digital transformation is just the distraction for the main problem that is the resistance to change. So we are all involved in this. We should be helping and also knowledge and experience and sharing. I think it's the only way to go on and overcome this main problem.
I love it. I love it. Lots of really amazing things been shared today. Incredible day. I think that it's been a privilege to hear from lots of passionate people around the world. We've seen people from China, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Portugal, India, Barbados, Canada, Uruguay, and the US. I think I've covered almost everyone, hopefully, and sharing not only amazing insights, but genuine kind of engaging, thoughtful, practical discussions as well afterwards. I think we've covered a lot of ground, lots of gritty challenges, lots of kind of implementation that we saw, and actually massive savings as well. That case study from the team at Limson showing 10% cost saving is kind of incredible. So being able to use that as a reason for implementing change from a mandating perspective, a lot of people have been looking for that type of reason, return on investment. Improving everything, unlocking. We saw unexpected benefits as well, like people bringing in external collaborators, owners through their online documents, using Plannerly, which in turn was like surprising everyone, the level of engagement that people had. So I think that just seeing senior leaders getting into and actually understanding BIM and being part of the journey, I think it's been great. We talked about the translation of real world cost and time implications. So people ask for BIM, but actually when you share with them how much it's going to cost and how much time it's going to take, they'll pare it back, and getting to the right balance is really important. Again and again, we heard about the common thread that it's not just about technology, it's about culture, it's about this mindset shift, and about creating habits. That's the real thing. You know, if we can make this habitual, make it second nature, people are doing it without even being asked to, they're seeing for the right reasons and they're doing it for the right reasons, that would be great. We saw lots of case studies. Being able to have that clear return on investment, I think that government mandate part is interesting around the world in lots of different places. The team in Singapore said that it's, you know, massive for them. I know that it's not going to happen everywhere around the world, but it'll be interesting to see how many different governments around the world will push for it. Yeah, and actually, so Jason talking about the silos, breaking down that the doctor analogy, I like that, about diagnosing the right issues. You know, you need to be able to ask the right questions and to be able to actually get to the right treatment. And the same thing with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders sitting waiting for their steak. I love that connection. Because if you ask the right questions and you can put the right order in, you'll get the perfectly cooked steak with the right sides, and in my eyes, no soggy fries, no soggy chips at all.